Hey y'all, welcome to Cylence Unlocked. We are really venturing out onto this new kind of idea of talking more. So as you know, for the last decades, I just generally like to stay to myself, keep everything just under wraps and just really focusing on what I have. But now we decided it is a time to really just unlock a little bit more and allow y'all to see into a lot of my thought process when it comes to life, the sport, and everything like that. So we're going to dive into whatever y'all want to talk about. I'll always link everything onto my Instagram so that y'all can send us information on what you kind of want to see, want us to talk about. But today's first episode, our inaugural episode with my co-host, Damian Segovia, is going to be titled, guys, are you ready? Who will take the throne? Okay? Now that I am retired after 18 years competing, 12 years at the IFBB Professional League, the figure Olympia title is now open after 8 consecutive years. So let's talk about it. Who's going to be next, G? Who's going to be next? So we already have Jessica. Jessica's already she's been second. Was it 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row?
I believe 2.
2 years in a row for Jessica. There's been Natalia, who's also been second 2 years in a row prior to Jessica. Lola's been third about 3 or 4 years now. So those are your top 4 so far, with Rhea coming up as fifth place this past year. So that was her first time in the top 5.
Yeah.
So who do you think's taking the throne next?
Oh, man. I mean, honestly, probably Jessica. I think Jessica's probably the next in line. I think she's probably the most deserving. She's kind of been there chipping away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's been binged around a little bit in the top 5. You know, I think one time she got 4th. But I feel like she's done the best job of doing what they've asked the other girls to do as far as bringing her physique down, a little bit more streamlined. Yeah, it'll be interesting this year. I don't know, you know. They always say that, you know, everything's available for anybody, but I think there's just some issues with some of the other girls as far as being consistent. So, yeah.
I think for me, as an athlete who's been competing on the stage with them and watching their progress, because again, I watch everybody. Yeah. I don't ever think you're sliding past me. I don't know what's going on. I see you. I watch you. I hear you. I know what's going on. My ears to the streets at all times. So for somebody who's been watching them grow, I've seen Jessica's updates and changes. I've seen Lola's changes, Natalia's changes. I've seen everybody, whether it's up, down in their placement, whatever it was, I've noticed what has happened throughout those years. And so I'm curious to see if there's going to be some stability in terms of consistent progress every single time, and when the door is open, because now the door is open. It's not like, oh, well, we got to knock off. There's nobody to knock off.
Yeah.
It's open.
Yeah, everyone's chasing everybody.
Everybody's chasing everybody. Yep. So now that everybody's chasing everybody, it's like, can you really handle the pressure that you never knew really existed because you've never been in that spot for the last decade? Yeah,
I think at least one person's going to overshoot.
Yeah.
At least one person's going to try to do something to really like catapult themselves up, and it's going to backfire. You know what I mean? Because I mean, that happens every season. There's always one that we're expecting to be like, you know, you and I will chat, other people chat, you know, who's going to be in the top 4, top 5, and then always someone kind of disappoints, you know, and kind of drops. So that's definitely going to happen. A coach and or athlete's going to make the decision to try to slingshot past the rest, and it's going to backfire 100%.
And the cool thing in that same breath, so I remember my first year when we won, our first year we won, we made sure we brought something that we had never seen before. So technically we overshined, it worked out for us.
Yep.
So I'm curious to see if there's any newbies that are coming up that nobody knows about. Because for people who don't know my history, I got 3rd place, Damian and I's first year together. Yep. And I wasn't supposed to get 3rd place. There was Olympia winners, and there was all Siddle get 4th place, 5th place. I'm like, who's going to tell me what I'm going to get? So me and Dee, we put our heads together, heads down, worked in silence, and made sure that I came out into that top 3 position from, what was that, 9th place? That was, 8th place. I went from 8th to 3rd.
She wasn't with me then.
Sure, I wasn't with him then. I was by myself, winging it, just doing whatever I wanted to do to try to just get to where I want to go. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any newbies who have that hunger, have that fight. That might come out of nowhere, because we had a couple people who just got pro cards that if they stay with their head down for a solid, some people can go, I grow in 6 months. But if they can grow in 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, can qualify for since the door is open, that already has, with me gone, that already is guaranteed a spot open in the top 5.
Yeah.
So there's somebody who could sneak in there and just be like,
No, I don't think so. No.
I got my eyes out. So if you're out there, I'm gonna be looking. I'm gonna be
trust me, I'm looking. I'm even giving out scholarships, if you're out there. But I think everyone's always trying to build their physique too fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody wants
Absolutely.
to take the time, and I don't know what caused that, but it's even with someone like, we'll talk, and y'all, when I talk about somebody, I'm not doing it to be disrespectful. I'm not doing it to be rude. I'm just giving you my opinion as someone who's been around a long time. Like with Lola.
Mm-hmm.
Lola has put on a lot of muscle in a short amount of time, and I feel like, not this past year, she brought her legs down a little bit, but then she when you put on a lot of muscle really quickly, the muscle tends to look just big and puffy. Doesn't have those layers. It doesn't have those fibers that sit on top of each other. So there's no depth to it. Like, people always ask me, like, how does Sid get her legs to be that separated? What do y'all do special? Like, that's just years. That's just years of putting little fibers on top of little fibers that create just that 3D look. You know what I mean? Like Phil Heath had it. You know what I mean? But when you try to rush it, it just doesn't look the same. And I think too many of the athletes are trying to rush, especially now that you're gone. I think everyone's going to try to go into overdrive, whereas Jessica doesn't need to. Jessica can just be what Jessica is and just really refine everything.
Yes.
And she's good because she's always right been there. Whereas Lola, she's went up and down the last 2 years. I think last year she almost dropped to 4th.
I did see that.
Yeah, she almost dropped to 4th. This year I think she was a solid 3rd, but you ain't supposed to go up and down, because she was 3rd the year before, almost dropped to 4th, but still stayed 3rd and then stayed 3rd. So she hasn't really made any progress, even though it is progress, like physique-wise. It's the details aren't there, and they're missing. And so that inevitably, when you're looking at a figure athlete, since your guys' division isn't just about who's the biggest, who's the most muscular, it's about a lot of details, because you can't be overly big.
Exactly.
So how do you make yourself look bigger without necessarily being bigger, or look more detailed, or have more balance, or have more pop? A lot of people don't realize with you, and I tell people, from the time you won your first title to the last, you only fluctuated about 1 to 2 pounds on each given Olympia win. We did that on purpose, but if you look at all the photos, your back always got more mature, more bigger, but not necessarily. We just brought up details.
Right.
And I don't think enough people are paying attention to details.
I think that's the key thing too, is when I was coming up throughout these years, the judges would always tell me, and more specifically Sandy, would be like, always focus on refinement. Don't focus on always getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, when you think about your Linda Murray's, your Ronnie Coleman's, well, Ronnie's a little bit different. He
had that one year.
One year he did.
Yep.
But generally, like your Dexter Jacksons, the people who had longevity in this sport, they made sure they focused on their health and the longevity, and making sure that their career was what they wanted to be, and it ended up being what they wanted to be down the road. But I think for a lot of athletes, you do start to rush it. And I think that people have to have a delayed gratification, because that's the whole point of the sport, is to be able to hold out 16, 20, 25 weeks of not eating these cheat meals and not doing this and not going out with your friends, for that prime example of what it's like to look your absolute best.
Yeah.
And so I think oftentimes now, currently, we just shifted into everything. Everybody wants everything now.
Yeah.
Everything wants it tomorrow, yesterday. And it's like, that's not how it works if you want a quality physique. And for me, it was always about longevity. We've always talked about that. It's about making sure that after this sport, I actually have a life.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that what I want for the girls coming up is to really not be that person who's always like, oh, I'll do whatever it takes. Soon as I hear somebody say I'll do whatever it takes, I'm like, oh no, that's not what you think it is. That's not what you need to be saying. I get you want to give it your all. Yeah. That's okay. But doing whatever it takes, that means you're going to kick that baby in the head over in the corner if that's what it took?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. You got to have some type of boundaries.
Yep.
You have to have something that's going to set you and able to get you to the top and keep you to the top. And so for me, as a person who has been the ambassador for a decade in this sport, really 12 years, for me, the person who I want to take that spot needs to be somebody of quality, consistency, and is able to lead.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of people will realize, especially the next person who takes that spot, is how heavy the crown actually is. And I think when people aren't in that spot, it's more so poke, 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 but you have no idea what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm most excited about, is the people to see what it actually feels like when you win that first one. Can you even get to a second one? And that's what I want to see. Can there be somebody else who has a legacy actually being built instead of just one title, if they wanted a legacy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think there's probably one or two out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're necessarily a part of the group that's around right now. You know what I mean? We'll find out. You know, Jessica obviously has an expiration date on her just due to her age. You know, she's a little bit older. You only can go so long, you know, and when you start to get older. Third place, Lola, like I said, I feel like, you know, she has the potential. She has a good look, but I feel like that look's been rushed, and it's kind of hurt it a little bit, you know what I mean? And so who we have in fourth? Natalia I think's awesome. You know, she ran really hard with you for a couple of years, fell off, got with the new coach, saw her in pit, and to be honest,
she came on I
was texting people in pit like, yo, I'm a little nervous. And then she did a show before the O, wasn't quite as good, wasn't quite as sharp, and then she showed up at the O, same kind of thing. So I think, you know, pit was nice, but what athletes don't understand is to be able to maintain that is a really, really hard thing to do for a coach, and it's really, really hard thing to do for an athlete. You have to be a different level of just different, you know what I mean, to be able to have that type of focus, you know. I think probably for me, the most intriguing person right now in the top 5 would be Rhea. I think she probably, she definitely has, in my opinion, probably the biggest back of all those girls up there. Yeah.
Her back is big.
Yep. Legs are getting better. They're still a little undersized. The only thing for her is just her waistline. Her waistline is her waistline. You know what I mean? She can't. You're born with what you're born with. All she could do is just try to keep reconfiguring at best of her ability. But
the one thing I do love about Rhea and Lola actually is the clean lines through the glutes. Yep. I'm a booty person, for y'all who don't know. I like, and I get off stage with D, I'm like, how my glutes look. Like, there was one show I was like, my glutes a little bit more crisp. Like, it was when I just signed with Imogen. Hunter was like, what do you want to change? And I was like, I want my glutes more crisp. I want to look back there and them things go, doop. And so anytime I see that level, because it's a different type of leanness, it's a different type of glute quality, muscle quality, and it's just different when you see the ladies bring it in and it's just crisp all in, especially because that's where most of us hold our fat. To get that crisp and lean, but not overly shredded and not overly striated, that is like an art to it. And so I can always appreciate every time I see Lola in her calves too. I'm telling you.
Yeah, okay, man. Yeah. I know. Too many figure girls ain't got no calves.
We don't. She's not touching nobody with that one. So different. I think there's a lot of attributes that I love for everybody who has the potential to win. It's just a matter of seeing who comes in. Now, with that being said, there is one more person. I know I was getting tagged and everything. Y'all was getting tagged. Everybody was tagging me and everything. I'm like, I'm retired. Why are y'all tagging me and everything? I'm literally removed. But I saw a lot of tags, and Missy decided she was going to switch from she won Fitness Olympia 3 times. And then now she decided she wanted to go switch over to figure. After I dured. And I remember she done a figure show against Natalia. Yeah. It was a couple years back. She got second to Natalia during that time. So it was interesting to see kind of her decide to switch over and kind of the reasoning she decided to. And I watched one of the podcasts. I remember she said that she had been just so dominant in fitness. Now, these are direct quotes. The way I remember, I guess I'm paraphrasing, that she'd been so dominant in fitness that she decided that it was basically not enough for her anymore, and she wanted to come over for, I guess, a new challenge, that type of thing. So, and I can see it because she was definitely one of the stronger physiques on
she was 100%. Yep.
And so I'm curious to see what it stacks up with, because for those who don't know, figure came from fitness. It was for the fitness girls who no longer wanted to tumble. They just wanted to see their frame on stage and have that shape. So it makes sense because that was the whole point of figure in the first place, for somebody to come down from fitness to figure. But I'm curious to see what it looks like now for a current figure girl against a fitness girl, how that lines up, because you have one body that was extremely functional. Like, I'm functional, but by no means am I doing toe touches and back flips. I am not qualified for that. So power to fitness. Fitness is my favorite category, FYI. Was a long time ago, but I love it still. So I'm curious to see how that stacks up with everybody else. Once you got everybody who has kind of a crazy shape, what does that look like? Is it all apples to apples? Is it apple, a little bit of orange? Yeah. What you thinking?
Oh, this one's tough. You need to set a little timer for me on this guy, because
timer is setting.
I got. So my question was to everybody in fitness was why she decided to like switch. You know what I mean? And then I just watched a couple clips. You know, I dominated everybody in the physique round. I dominated everybody in the routine round, which she hasn't, which I don't get. Like, I'm a factual person. If you're going to say something, you like back it up.
Objectively, yeah.
The last 2 times she's been on stage, Jacqueline's beat her in the routine round. So she's been second the last 2 times to Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Whitney, who was, business partner, I coached her for a long time. Whitney is a person that if you ask her, does not have structure. She just wasn't born with structure. Missy and Whitney went against each other, I believe, 5 times. 3 out of those 5 times, Whitney beat Missy in the physique round. To me, that's not dominating. And I believe she won her first Olympia title, lost it to Whitney the next year, won it back. That's not dominating. Dominating is who's sitting across the table from me. Dominating is Phil Heath, Linda Murray, people who've won consecutive titles back to back to back. Winning 3 titles is awesome, don't get me wrong, but to me, dominating is you do not get beat. Right. So that the reason doesn't make sense for me.
It might have been overreach.
Yep, the reason doesn't make sense for me because you haven't been beating everybody in routine because you've lost the last 2, especially this last year. This last season, she won Olympia. She was 3rd in the routine round.
I think it was Jacqueline who got 2nd and
Little T
got 1st.
Yep. So you definitely ain't dominating. So I don't know what the excuse is. So then I go, okay, let me see physique-wise because I see everybody talking about it. Everybody gets hyped, and so I start going. Yeah, I start going. Let me break down why people are getting there, and I get it. When you're looking at Missy and the fitness division, she's very impressive because you are dealing with a lot of different bodies that don't look nothing like most figure girls. When you come to the figure realm, everybody got what you got. Everyone got a small waist. Everyone got big shoulders. So I actually went and looked through and I really broke down photos. Her quads are very, very undersized, very undersized. And the knee that's injured, that quad's very, very compromised. Like, so if you go and look at the photos, her legs, like we'll take Rhea, for instance. Everyone's been telling Rhea to bring her legs up. I went and did a side-by-side comparison of those 2. Rhea's legs are significantly bigger than Missy's. And Rhea was 5th. And I think on the podcast, Missy or her husband said that they think she could be top 4. I'm like, the girl on 5th has bigger legs than you and a much bigger back because Missy's back actually isn't that big if you look at it. Then if you turn around to the backside, there's no hamstrings, no inner thighs, no hamstrings, and no glutes. The knock always has been on Missy's. Her glutes shape aren't there, and the conditioning has never been there. Not one show has it ever been there. Not relative to figure. Maybe fitness, but not relative to figure. So no hamstrings, no glute conditioning, doesn't have proper glute shape, doesn't have quads, has an okay back. So what are we really comparing? Big shoulders? Everybody in figure got big shoulders. And she's pretty. I'll give her that. She's 100% pretty. And honestly, I know, like, I'm going to get tore up because Missy has a lot of people out there that love her, and I know y'all going to come for me, and it's okay. I even got my little thing right here, my little mask for all the smoke as it's coming, I got my little respirator. So, boy, about to be a smoke show coming on my IG. I can feel it already because she got a lot of people. But honestly, that's just black and white. That's just facts. I'm a coach. I'm gonna break everything down black and white. And I know the arguments in view. Well, she's been told the downsize. She's been told the downsize for fitness, which I know she was because I was part of that fitness community. I coached a lot of the girls, but she wasn't told to downsize her legs, and she wasn't told to not bring conditioning. So my question is, what's gonna be the secret sauce this year? What's gonna be the magic potion that all of a sudden is going to allow her legs to get bigger? Because they weren't getting bigger in fitness when you're doing a lot of plyometric jumps and stuff like that, which you would think would contribute to it. What all of a sudden is going to be the catalyst that her legs all of a sudden are going to grow to match any girl in the figure division? Because honestly, you could take the top 10 and all the girls in the top 10 have significantly bigger legs than her. They all have hamstrings. They all have good ham glute tie-ins. They're all conditioned in the backside. I don't see it. I don't get it. So I know it's hype, and hey, I could be wrong. Olympia could roll around. She could be right there, and y'all could be like, you don't know what you're talking about. But if you go look at the black and white and you compare everything like I'm telling you to compare, the hype's not there. Okay. It's just not.
Now, I do think that she will make first call out. I think she will qualify for the Olympia. What show I'm not
Technically,
sure.
she don't need to qualify because she is.
No,
do you?
Does.
Do you
she
have
to qualify?
Okay.
That's the rules.
I guess it's just in your division. If you once you win the title, then
she has to win a figure show. I think we'll be able to be even more objective. So once we see what it looks like now, but the key thing is with it being we're less than a year out from the next Olympia.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're already less than a year out for the next Olympia. And we know that we would love to see her legs come up a little bit more to match the juiciness of those very voluminous shoulders. Yep. Now, she could also do a way where she lessens the upper body a lot, bring those shoulders down a lot, and that way it can balance even more. I think that would benefit her a lot, especially standing next to your Jessicas and your Lolas who are bubbly everywhere, top to bottom. And so what I always look for my outfits, I always tell my ladies, and it can also be a posing thing too, is for my figure ladies, you should never have a thigh gap, okay? You either need to build that muscle or pose it differently so that when you look at your legs, there's nothing going straight through. And so for Jessica and Lola and Natalia, who always have those legs, I mean, you can't see nothing going through.
Missy has a big thigh gap.
So it's kind of, that's going to have to be something objectively that would be brought up for me to be like, okay, yeah, she's definitely going to be in that top 4. She closed that thing up. I got faith in everybody. She might be able to do it. We don't know.
That compromised knee on that left side is that quad significantly smaller, and her legs weren't big to begin with. So what are you gonna do? The right's gonna get real big, and the left's just gonna get lagged behind.
Yeah, we're gonna find out that first show. So with that time, she doesn't have that much time to be able to bring them up as much as she could if she were able to have a lifetime qualification. Now, if I'm wrong, that would benefit her to where she could take the whole year off and kill her legs. We know she works hard. We know she can kill that. Kill her legs up into that last little bit, and that way she could actually have a good year of just not having to jump, not having to do anything, not having to worry about the mental impact of tumbling, like, am I going to hurt myself? And so I think that could benefit her a little bit. So I'm curious. I'm really curious to see. I'm ready to watch, but I know there's people tagging me like, oh, Sid, you should watch out. And I'm like, I'm retired. I'm not watching out for anybody.
Yeah, no, she'll definitely do the work. You don't win 3 titles in any division without doing the work. So definitely not saying she's not a hard worker. I think the timetable is just too short this year. And then again, like I said, what is the magic potion that's gonna all of a sudden change that? That lower half. I don't know. You know what I mean? I guess there's a lot of arguments, and I'm not part of that camp, so there could be a lot of things. But I know she's always lacked conditioning in the backside. So then I'm like, okay, you've always had to work so hard to get conditioning, which means you lose a lot of your fullness and or possibly muscle. What's the new fix this year? What changes that? You know what I mean? Because you got to come in, man, with those girls in that top 5, they're round. Ray is round. Jessica is probably going to be even rounder this year because she can. Because Lola is a bigger frame now. So it's like those girls are going to come in really, really full and conditioned. That's tough.
I'm going to be there with popcorn, y'all.
That's
I'm
tough.
really excited about it.
I'm going to be back there hiding. I'm going to have Missy people trying to find me.
I'm really excited about it. So it's going to just be cool to see, like, with it being removed, I'm able to be a fan of the sport and just see it. And the key thing, again, is I just wanted to fall in good hands, people who are good representatives on and off the stage without a camera in your face. Because, again, it's a small industry. We all know kind of if you're not just a fan and you're actually in those positions, especially for somebody who's like me, who's been at the top for so long, I'm aware I have everybody around me has treated me. So I'm curious to just see how that translates now that the door is open and when positions are switched, and if their character will change, if their demeanors and personalities will start to change. So it's going to be an interesting ride to just sit back and watch and grab my popcorn and just see what happens.
No, I mean, I'm excited for it because it's different. It's new. And I think a lot of people always felt like with you around, oh, Sid's gonna win again. You know what I mean? You and I never treated it that way. You know, we treated it like we still ain't won when we was going after, and that's how we treated it. So for us, it was just business. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It's definitely gonna be interesting. I hope there is 1 or 2 new athletes out there that can kind of at least break into that top 10 and kind of show some promise. But I don't know why we're not seeing more younger athletes in figure that are able to maintain long enough to actually improve to be one of those higher caliber athletes. You know what I mean? I think a lot of it, honestly, is the coaching. I think a lot of the coaches are pushing their athletes too hard, too fast, trying to make names for themselves. I mean, I've been doing this 25 plus years. It took me a very long time to get, somewhat known. So I would like to see more coaches just being more careful with their athletes and realizing, hey, it's nice to have a shining star, but if they burn out the next season, who cares? Ain't nobody remembers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You just hurt the industry in general. That athlete would have been far better just being with another coach so they still could be a part of fitness,
But do you think it's I have my opinions on it because we're going to talk about them, y'all. I have my opinions on how we've gotten here. And I think the numbers have started to go down because people want to... We still live in a society that it's not okay for women to have muscle. Yeah. We still, everybody, most of the women, even if you're a bikini girl, oh, you look a man when you have 100%. Literally barely a little bit of muscle on your frame. Yeah. And so I think that for women in the sport, they're also going to be battling just the general misogyny of life and what is acceptable and what they've internalized. Yeah. And so I think that's going to be issue number one is you're going to have the girls that are going to go to more things that are more sexualized, like, I wouldn't say necessarily bikini anymore, but it could be. Yeah. Like closer to your thongs and more glute focused. Yeah. And that's what seems like a lot of women are gearing to. Yeah. I mean, I love a good booty. Like I said, I like glutes, okay? I like everybody's booty. I don't care if it's swole as hell, juicy as hell, or dimples everywhere. I don't care. Glutes, honey. Have them. So I love that, but I'm a person who loves all type of bodies. Yeah. And I think that there's too much body shaming in general life, but also within the sport. And I think that body shaming is what has dwindled down the categories that are the bigger sizes. Yeah. And so that's one issue I have. But I think it's also because a lot of the coaches are saying everybody does A, B, C. Yeah. And my issue is when people say everybody, you're automatically lying because you don't know everybody in this sport and you don't know everybody in the world. So why are you lying and perpetuating this ideology that this has to be what it is? Because if people who don't know still... I was a natural athlete my entire life for 18 years straight. Yeah. So it's like, if you have coaches saying, but Sid does this, do you even know me? Nope. If you don't have my phone number, don't even know my middle name.
And even then, they still wouldn't know what you do.
And you still wouldn't know.
Because we don't talk about it.
Exactly. And so I think that is a large part of the issue of why we're seeing just a general shift. Because the girls want to do the cutesier categories. When I love figure. I think figure is beautiful. Figure is very much just regal. That's what I feel when I watch it. Yep. And so in that same breath, that's why I was just actually having a conversation with Jessica about this past week when we were on the phone. Because I called her, we were talking just in general about what's happening. And that's why I told her, I said, hey, this is what I need from you. I need your posing to be on point. Yeah. I need all these ducks to be in a row. Because again, for the person who comes up behind me, I don't want it to go where posing goes out the door. Everybody doesn't know how to hit a side pose properly or a front pose properly or stay in your poses. So that was a conversation I had with her. And for all my ladies coming up, I want your posing to be at the forefront. I want people to look up on stage and want to be you. Yeah. Because that's how we keep the sport going. For sure. And for me, that was always something that I love when I had my bikini girls run over, or my wellness girls like, Sid, that was amazing. Like, that's what you want, because you want them to have started in those categories and be like, you know what? I saw that. Now I want to do that too. And I think that's what a lot of people in the current day sport have to take into account, because now for the women, we're battling 4 or 5 other different categories. And so if you want somebody to be your category, you have to try to make it properly. At the end of the day, again, we're fighting against society. There's only so much you can do. Yeah. So the key thing is just making it the best that you can actually make it. And so that's what I really want to see coming up from the girls after is just give it your all, but have some boundaries, have some standards that you want for your life, and don't let anybody talk you into anything that you don't want to do, because it's not a necessity. Now, for certain people, they have certain bills. Do what you feel. I don't judge, honey. You got to do what you got to do. But again, be comfortable in what your decisions you make, because you are an adult. Own what you do and move forward accordingly. But again, there is not always one way to skin a cat. So keep that in mind as you go through your journey. But I'm excited to see how we wrap it all up. Yeah. Coming up in, what is it? It's going to be October. I don't think they haven't announced the date yet, but it's going to be soon.
I know.
Well, the date is coming up soon in 2025. So
it's coming.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who pops up next, and I'll be there, and I'll talk about it after it gets done.
Yeah. So you want to talk, like, for everybody out there, like, kind of what we're going to talk about on our show? So y'all know we just started this. Yes. This is my second ever podcast. I'm a professional podcaster now. Sid's done a few more than me, but yeah, we decided just to, hey, let's just speak. I've always been a more quiet person. But man, I got lots of opinions. And I'm getting old. I'm at that age where I just don't give a what anymore. Right, so I'm going to speak a lot of them opinions on the show. And we'll talk about everything, every division. I'll tell you one thing, at least I won't do as a coach, is I'm never going to act like I don't know how to say this, but I'm never gonna act like I'm an expert per se
Okay.
in a certain division or all the divisions.
Mhm.
Too many of the coaches, they all have podcasts now, and they're all
Yes, they do.
experts. They're all
Well, I am an expert in figure, so I will give
you
you my expert
100%.
opinion.
You've won the title 8 times. So, but for me, like
Yeah.
I'm still a coach. I'm
Right.
still, and in the end, the judges are the ones that are the experts because they're the
Absolutely.
ones laying out
Absolutely.
what they want to see, and,
That's right.
and so for me, it's my job to try to follow it.
That's
So
right.
I will give you my best advice, what I think
Mhm.
the judges are trying to say with their advice as far as what they're looking for,
Mhm.
criteria. But I won't ever say like I just won't ever. That's just not who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not. I know I'm very successful at what I've done.
Mhm.
Pretty okay at what I do. But that's definitely something I don't want to be on, right? Too many of the coaches are just like, oh, I'm this and that.
Yeah.
I know everything, and this is the way it does. Come on, man. Like, yeah, y'all haven't even won a title yet. You guys are acting like you're experts. You haven't even won a title. So it's just, I don't know. So I think you'll probably get into a lot of different topics. You know what I mean? Yeah, it'll be good,
And I'll put some Q&As on my Instagram too, so y'all can send in like what you want us to talk about and things like that, and we'll just wing it, y'all. We're out here winging it, okay?
Yeah,
Y'all said y'all wanted me to
100%.
talk, so now I'm
100%.
talking.
I thought you was gonna have all kinds of notes. I was like, yo,
Nope.
I know sis, she's gonna have all these notes, and we get in here and I'm looking and I'm like, we ain't got no notes.
I'm gonna do air, y'all.
We ain't got no notes. So yeah, second only podcast. And
Yeah.
but that is what it is,
So,
That's good.
All right,
Yeah.
y'all. This is episode number uno. So welcome to Cylence Unlocked with Sydney Gillen and
Damian Segovia.
And we are out.
See ya.
Oh, y'all, I almost forgot. So, I left out two categories of women when we're talking about the change in the figure back when I first was coming up. It's 45 plus people per category at the NPC level and at the pro level. So we have to talk about the evolution, and we can go into more topics down this road as the podcast continues to grow. We continue to kind of fine tune how we discuss and lay out things, but I felt that was a very, very crucial thing to talk about because back in the day, there was a wide range of different types of weights, different types of bodies, different looks. And now we've kind of come to more of a standard look of small waist, wider shoulders, juicy muscle bellies. And so, of course, that evolution, that will, of course, start to knock out people, more and more people, because they're getting more and more away from the mainstream, because they're going more into more genetically gifted, that type of arena. And when you go towards that direction, it is going to drop off the number of people. So that's why we love bikini and now sit model, because it allows for all different body types to come in. And ultimately, we also have one more group of women who just don't want to be that muscular. And that is okay. For whatever reason that may be, that is okay, honey, because at the end of the day, I don't judge. As long as you are lifting and you want to be healthy, I'm going to be cheering you on. So that goes for any category, anybody who doesn't want to compete in general. I'm always here for it because at the end of the day, health is wealth, and that's what I always want to preach. And I always want to make sure that every single category, especially on this podcast, feels supported, feels loved, because I love them all. So I want to toss that in there because those are key things. Those two groups are very, very crucial in terms of our discussion of why the numbers have changed and what the look has evolved to. So, anyway, love y'all. Now we're really done. Silence unlocked.